Mr. Van Cleve.
Good afternoon, Your Excellency. Very kind of you to receive me.
Not at all. Oh, please, sit down.
Thank you.
I hope you'll forgive me, but we're so busy down here. Really, sometimes it looks as if the whole world is coming to hell. Frankly, I haven't had an opportunity to familiarize myself with your case. When did it happen, Mr. Van Cleve?
Tuesday. To be exact, I died at 9:36 in the evening.
I trust you didn't suffer much.
Oh, no, not in the least. I had finished my dinner.
A good one, I hope.
Oh, excellent. I ate everything the doctor forbade. And then, well, to make a long story short, shall we say, I fell asleep without realizing it. And when I awakened, there were all my relatives speaking in low tones and saying nothing but the kindest things about me. Then I knew I was dead.
I presume your funeral was satisfactory.
Well, there was a lot of crying, so I believe everybody had a good time. It would have been an ideal funeral if Mrs. Cooper, a friend of the family, hadn't volunteered to sing The End of a Perfect Day. You see, all my life I had succeeded in avoiding Mrs. Cooper's coloratura, and this undoubtedly was her revenge.
Mr. Van Cleve, I can see that you have a sensitive, cultivated ear.
Oh, thank you.
Then let me warn you. The music down here is anything but pleasant. Beethoven, Bach, Mozart, you hear them only above.
Yes, I know. It won't be easy not to hear the old masters again. And there are several people up there I would love to see. Particularly one. Very dear one. But I haven't a chance.
Have you tried?
No, Your Excellency. I have no illusions. I know the life I live. I know where I belong. I would like to get it over as quickly as possible.
Very well. If you meet our requirements, we'll be only too glad to accommodate you. Would you be good enough to mention, for instance, some outstanding crime you've committed?
Crime? I'm afraid I can't think of any. But I can safely say my whole life was one continuous misdemeanor.
My dear Mr. Van Cleve, a passport to hell is not issued on generalities. No, I'm afraid you'll have to wait until I have time to study your record.
Now, look here. I have to see His Excellency, and no office boy is going to stop me. I beg your pardon, Your Excellency.
Just a moment.
I'm Edna Craig.
Oh, yes, I have your record here. You'll be taken care of in just a moment.
Really, I don't want to seem rude, but I don't think I belong here.
In just
Please don't
a moment,
misunderstand me. I think it's a charming place, isn't it? Henry Van Cleve.
You know Edna Craig?
I'm sorry, madam. I seem to be at a loss.
Oh, Henry, think back. Many years. The little brownstone house around the corner from the old Waldorf.
Oh, Marmaduke Harrison's party. We were all dressed as children.
And you came as little Lord Fauntleroy.
And they wheeled you in a baby carriage. Little Constantinople.
Oh, Henry.
No girl in New York walked on two more beautiful legs than you. Little Constantinople.
Well, Henry, I still walk. And on the same two legs.
And I'm sure they're still as beautiful.
Well, Henry, I'll let you be the judge of that.
Those things are better left to memory. But I must admit you're beginning to interest me, Mr. Van Cleve. I think I can spare the time to listen to your story.
Thank you, Your Excellency.
Please sit down.
Perhaps the best way to tell you the story of my life is to tell you about the women in my life. Well, let's start with the first woman. My mother. A lovely lady, but prejudiced. She thought I was wonderful. She was the first woman I ever fooled. Then there was my grandmother. She was just as prejudiced as my mother.
Oh, he's a little darling. Let me hold him.
No, please, Mother Van Cleve, let the baby rest.
You're just jealous, Bertha.
I can't stand this any longer. I'm going to speak to Randolph about this.
Yes, Randolph. First you take my son away, and now you want to alienate my grandchild.
My diapers needed changing, and already women were fighting for me. What a way to start a man on the road of life. I was not even 2, and I already got involved in a triangle. At home, in the presence of my family, I was the only man in my nurse's life. I was her honey bunch, her oogie woogie woo. But the minute we got to the park...
Hello, Bedelia.
Well, if it isn't Patrick himself. Shut up, you nasty little brat.
No wonder I became a cynic. My next lesson came from little Mary.
Hello, Mary. Don't speak to me, Henry Van Cleve. You're a bad boy, and my mother says I shouldn't talk to bad boys.
I bet you I don't know what I've got in this box.
And I'm not interested, Henry Van Cleve.
Then I won't tell you it's a beetle.
A beetle?
You like it?
Oh, who doesn't like beetles?
It's yours.
Thank you. Oh, thank you, Henry. I wonder if I should take it.
Well, if you don't want it.
Oh, I didn't mean it that way. I was just wondering.
Don't worry. I've got another one.
Another beetle?
Uh-huh.
Oh, it's beautiful. It looks rather lonely, though. You know what I think? I think it wants to be together with mine.
You mean you want this one, too?
Henry Van Cleve, do you think I'm the kind of girl that would take a boy's last beetle?
Oh, that's all right. You can have it.
Thank you, Henry. Now, if you want to, you can walk with me to the corner.
From that moment on, one thing was clear to me. If you want to win a girl, you have to have lots of beetles. I was growing rapidly, and so was New York. Yes, New York was becoming cosmopolitan, and no household was considered fashionable without a French maid. So one day, a Fifth Avenue coach stopped in front of our house, and out of the coach and into my life came Mademoiselle.
Mrs. Van Cleve will be here shortly.
Merci.
That's Mr. Van Cleve.
Oh, monsieur, charmant, charmant.
This is Mr. Van Cleve's father. He lives here, too.
Oh, grandpapa, sweet, very sweet. And who is this darling little boy?
That's the young master. He's not so darling.
Bad boy.
Not good.
Good morning. Bonjour, madame. How do you do, mademoiselle? Your name is, Yvette Blanchard. Yvette Blanchard. Oui. The agency tells me that you've just arrived from France. Oui. And are seeking employment in this country. Oui, madame. You have references? Oui, madame. May I see them, please? Naturellement. Voilà. Thank you. Oh, they're in French. Oui, madame. But believe me, toutes les références excellentes. Here, my last employer, Baroness Lalotte, wishes me to be such grand success in America that I shall never have desire to return to France. Oh, the French have such a continental way of expressing their gratitude. And here, référence from the Duc de Polignac. He considers the 2 years I spent in his house the 2 most happy years of his life. Oh, it sounds just like a duke. What about your wages? Maybe in beginning, $20 a month would give satisfaction. $20 a month? You see, I've never gone higher than $14 a month for a personal maid. If I could only justify the difference. Let me see.
Oh, Mother.
Come here, dear. Mademoiselle, this is my little boy. Bonjour, mon petit.
Hello.
He studies French. Oh, mademoiselle, you must ask him something in French, but not too difficult. Oui. Avez-vous bien travaillé aujourd'hui, mon chéri?
Huh?
That's what I was afraid of. Now, be a nice boy and go. I have an idea that I want to discuss with mademoiselle. A brilliant child, but a little backward in his French. And it just occurred to me that... Oh, madame, it would be pleasure talk only French to little fellow. My whole vocabulary I may present to your baby. With me in house in 1 month, I assure madame will not recognize her son. And only for $20. Of course, that's $6 more than I ever paid before. But let's try it. Merci, madame. Au revoir, madame. Goodbye, mademoiselle.
Hey,
Oui?
You're not going to work here, I'll see to that.
What is the matter? Did I make little boy angry?
Now, see here. That's the last time anybody's going to call me little boy.
Oh, so sorry if I hurt feelings, but Mama...
Yes, Mama. That's the trouble. Mama and Papa and Grandpapa and Grandmama. It's a conspiracy to keep me in short pants. They think they own me, body and soul.
Ah, je comprends. My understanding for young man is perfect. Your soul is bigger than your pants. Oh, you need very warm friend with sympathy. Moi, I would be with.
I bet you couldn't guess in a million years what I have in my pocket.
No, I do not know, but I'm sure it is something very bad, oui?
Here.
Oh, you smoke big black cigar?
Sure, I'm going to smoke it. Any day now.
Now we have very bad secret together, oui?
That's nothing. I can tell you things that would rock Fifth Avenue to its foundations.
Oh?
I'm going to get married.
You married?
I have to, darn it.
Oh, this is much worse than cigar. When did disaster take place?
Oh, it all happened pretty suddenly. There's a girl around the corner. Well, you know.
But I do not know. Tell me.
Well, we were walking in the park and it started to rain.
Oui?
We climbed into a policeman's shed.
And the policeman?
He wasn't there. Well, anyhow, before I knew it, I lost my head. I don't know what got into me. I took her into my arms and then...
And then?
I kissed her. I may just as well face the consequences.
Excuse my asking question. This might sound very childish to grown-up young man, but did you ever consider idea not marrying girl?
It's out of the question. It would destroy me socially. I could never go to Harvard. Why, when my father kissed my mother, she knew what he meant, and he knew she knew it.
Écoute, mon chéri. In your papa's time, Papa kissed Mama and then married. But this is 1887, time of bicycle, the typewriter has arrived, soon everybody speak over the telephone, and people have new idea of value of kiss. What was bad yesterday is lot of fun today. There is a wonderful saying in France, les baisers sont comme des bonbons, qu'on mange parce qu'ils sont bons. This means kiss is like candy. You eat candy only for the beautiful taste, and this is enough reason to eat candy.
You mean I can kiss a girl once?
10 times, 20 times, and no obligation.
Now listen, are you telling me the truth or just trying to keep your job?
I swear by the extra $6 I get from Madame.
Gosh, this is a wonderful age I'm living in.
Oui, so you do not have to worry about the little girl.
Oh, I've forgotten about her already. I guess I'm pretty blasé. Listen, Frenchie.
What is it, my friend?
If that's the way things are in 1887, what do you think's going to happen in 1888?
Ah, we make that the subject of our first French lesson. Au revoir, monsieur.
Mother?
Yes, my baby.
That girl is worth the extra $6.
The pride of all the Van Cleves was my cousin Albert. He was the fulfillment of a parent's dream. Always the highest in his class. Never had he thrown a stone into a window, nor did he ever put a mouse in his teacher's bustle. His ears were always clean. This, I think, will give you a rough idea of Albert. And I'll never forget the morning of my 15th birthday. The presents were waiting for me in the living room. But suddenly Father came running down the stairs, excited and breathless.
Flondo! Flondo!
Yes, Mr. Van Cleve.
Tell Robinson to go immediately and get Dr. McIntosh. Tell him our little Henry is ill.
Yes, sir.
Oh, my poor baby. The boy's acting so strangely, Randolph. Randolph.
Now, Bertha, we must keep a stiff upper lip.
Randolph, he's talking all the time as if he were in a delirium.
Well, what does the boy seem to be saying?
What have I only knew, Randolph? He's talking French, nothing but French.
French?
Oh, Randolph, our boy delirious in a foreign language.
Now, Bertha, this is an emergency. We must do everything step by step. And the next move is to find out what the boy is saying. Flondo!
Yes, sir.
Tell Mademoiselle to come to Master Henry's room immediately.
Very good, sir.
If only Grandpa would let me rub just a bit of garlic on his little chest.
Stay away from that boy with your garlic. The boy's sick enough.
Randolph, did you hear that? Did you hear that, Grandpa?
I'm not deaf.
The child's poisoned. That's what it is. Oh, Randolph, what shall we do? What shall we do?
Now, there's only one thing to do, Bertha. Keep a stiff upper lip.
But that won't help that poor poisoned boy.
If I had my way, I know what I'd do. A big glass of cold water right in that boy's face, and I think he'd start talking English.
Hugo, you barbarian.
Oh, please,
You mustn't do that. Please, you mustn't do that.
Oh,
Mademoiselle.
Did Madame send for me?
Yes, mademoiselle. Our little Henry.
He's sick?
Yes, mademoiselle.
Oh, excuse, Madame, I'll be right back. Oui, Madame.
Mademoiselle, he's asking for something in French. You must help us find out what he wants.
Oui, Madame.
Look, he's smiling.
He's far, far away. Why, he seems to be in another world. He's looking at Mademoiselle. I wonder what he sees.
Yes, I wonder.
Oh, je suis si malade. Mon estomac me fait si mal.
Is he clear?
Does it make any sense?
Oh, his French is absolutely perfect. Such beautiful grammar.
Mademoiselle, at the moment, we're not concerned with the young man's linguistic accomplishments.
Randolph, don't be
I'm
harsh.
sorry if I seem to have lost my temper, but the occasion is a trying one. If you could only tell us what the child is saying, it might help us to meet the situation.
Must be contagious disease.
Son, step out with me a moment.
Good morning. What's going on?
Now, son, you still don't know what's the matter with that boy?
Well, Father, I wouldn't presume to make a diagnosis. After all, I'm not a man of medicine.
Randolph, how old are you?
What an odd question, Father. I'm 43.
Well, I think you are definitely old enough to be told the facts of life.
What are you driving at, Father?
Now, son, don't look at me with those big wandering eyes. It breaks my heart, but I'll have to shatter your childhood illusions. Randolph, my son, there is no Santa Claus. And that child of yours... Listen, don't you really know what's the matter with him?
You get out of here.
Bertha, what is it?
Randolph, call the police.
Yes, call the police.
Quiet. We don't need the police.
Bertha, Mother, I wish someone would take the time to explain to me what this is all about.
Believe me, monsieur, the excitement is greatly exaggerated.
How dare you speak? Have you no shame?
Oh, please, Grandpapa.
Don't you call him Grandpapa? You are very
Shut up.
you, Grandpapa.
Go ahead, call me Grandpapa.
Merci, monsieur. Merci beaucoup, monsieur. You are very kind.
Yes, I'm very kind, but you'd better go and pack your things now. And if you're not out of the house in a very little while, I'll come down to your room and help you pack.
I wish you would, Grandpapa.
Oh, shame.
Leave this house. Go.
There is old French saying, if you are thrown out of house, you better resign. Au revoir.
I still would appreciate it if someone would tell me what all this has to do with our little Henry.
Fortunately, Uncle Randolph, French always being one of my favorite subjects, I was able to understand the incredible conversation between Henry and Mademoiselle. I don't know how to begin.
All right. Henry had a glass of wine. We all know that.
But Henry? Intoxicated?
From what I overheard, at or about 10 o'clock last night, Henry and this foreign young woman slipped out of the house. Before doing this, however, Henry wrongfully took possession of his father's dress clothes, including $20, which Uncle Randolph was negligent enough to leave in his pocket.
Imagine they went to Delmonico's.
Did they have a good time?
They drank champagne. Our little baby drank champagne.
Well, thank you, Albert.
But that's not all, Grandfather. It seems, from what I could gather, that Mrs. Asterbrook of the Asterbrooks, who was sitting at an adjoining table, resented bitterly the idea of Henry dropping a nickel into her décolletage and complaining to the management because no chocolate bar dropped out of Mrs. Asterbrook.
Mrs. Asterbrook, how can I ever face her?
What a disgrace.
I'm going to teach that boy a lesson.
Yes, that's what he deserves, throwing nickels around like that. Knowing the Asterbrooks, I can tell you right now, we'll never see that nickel again.
I have reached my decision. That boy is going to be spanked, and severely.
Oh, Randolph, don't hurt him. Please don't hurt him. Please. He's such a baby.
Well, I assume there will be no further birthday celebration.
I'm afraid not.
I believe I can utilize this time very beneficially, so I'll say goodbye.
Goodbye, Albert. You're a real credit to the family.
Thank you, Grandfather.
26th birthday.
Oh, that boy. Well, at least poor grandmother, may her soul rest in peace, was spared seeing a day like this. Oh, Randolph. Randolph, where can he be? Where can he be?
Now, Bertha, I'd like to give you some consolation, but all I can say is chins up.
Oh, Randolph, where does he get it from?
I give up, Bertha. I never gambled in all my life. I never got entangled with any girl until I met you.
Randolph, you call it entangled?
I mean, you entangled my heart.
Oh, of course, Randolph, we entangled each other's hearts.
Believe me, Bertha, I never knew what a musical comedy girl looked like.
Well, what can he possibly derive from their company?
To me, they were creatures from another planet.
Where does he get it from? Nobody in our family was musical.
To this day, I wouldn't know how to find the stage entrance to a theater.
It's always around in the back, up an alleyway. There's a sign over the door, stage entrance. You can't miss it.
I'm not interested, Father. I never was.
Well, where does the boy get it from? Where does he get it from?
Father built up the Van Cleve Importing Company from nothing. When he stopped, I carried on. Dad, you must admit, from the day I left Harvard, I earned every dollar I ever spent.
Then why do you give him money without making him work for it?
Well, I have to save the family name. What about you handing him hundreds of dollars? If I'd come to you for money, would you have given it to me?
No.
Would you give it to him? Why? Why?
Because I like him.
Does it mean by any chance, Father, that you don't like me?
Son, I love you. Now shut up and leave me alone.
Good morning. Good morning, Aunt Bertha.
Good morning, Albert.
Good morning, Grandfather.
Good morning, Albert.
Good morning, Uncle Randolph.
Good morning, Albert.
I just came in to bring a little birthday remembrance for Henry. Anything wrong? Isn't he home? 11 o'clock Sunday morning. If I know my cousin Henry, he's probably still in church. I mean that humorously.
Albert, I'm struggling successfully against the gout. I'm waging a terrific battle with my liver, and I'm holding my own against asthma. But I doubt if I have strength enough to survive your jokes. You're a successful lawyer. Let it go at that. I love you, Albert.
It was sweet of you to drop in, Albert. I hope you'll be here tonight. Thank you.
I hope so, too. Otherwise, I'd be in the most embarrassing position as far as my future in-laws are concerned.
Oh, we're so eager to meet your fiancée. How does she like New York?
Yes, is she enjoying herself?
Well, she's only been here 2 days, so naturally the impression is overwhelming. I took her to the aquarium, we rode up and down the elevator in the Flatiron Building, and naturally we ended up in Grant's tomb.
Naturally.
And her parents?
Oh, yes. How does the big Kansas City butcher like New York?
Now, Father, please.
I assume that you're referring to my future father-in-law, who happens to be one of the great meat packers of our time.
Yes, Father Van Cleve. Don't you realize that every piece of beef we eat comes from one of Mr. Strabel's many, many plants?
Does that include the steak I fought 10 rounds with last night?
Grandfather, you don't seem to have any idea of the importance of Mr. Strabel. He created the most famous character in American advertising, Mabel the cow.
You've seen her, Father, on billboards.
That big happy cow, smiling at you over the fence and saying in big letters, how does it go?
To the world, my name is Mabel, which you'll find on every label. I am packed by E.F. Strabel for the pleasure of your table.
No cow in its right mind could have said anything like that. Sounds more like Mr. Strabel.
Grandfather, please, I beg of you. The family understands your humor, but it's a typical kind of New York humor.
In other words, it's not for yokels, huh?
I beg your pardon, sir. Mr. Henry just came home. He went directly upstairs.
Aunt Bertha, when you see Henry, will you tell him that as a Van Cleve, I have the right to demand that he keep the shadow of scandal off our name. You see, my future in-laws are, so to speak, pioneer people, and...
Packed by E.F. Strabel for the pleasure of our table. Holy smoke!
Goodbye, Aunt Bertha.
Goodbye, Albert.
Well, this time I was firm.
Good, Randolph. What happened?
We asked for $100, but I told him I'd let him have only 50.
Randolph.
And not right away.
For the first time in 27 years of marriage, I feel like criticizing you.
What do you want me to do, spank a 26-year-old boy?
No, but at least I expected a verbal lashing. Are you all right, my boy?
Yes, Mother.
Many happy returns of the day. Oh.
Mother, I'm sorry if I made you unhappy.
Oh, Grandfather and Father and I are worried to death about you. You don't give your family a single thought. All you think about is having what you call a good time.
Mother, I went out last night to raise Cain.
Son, you mustn't talk like that.
Don't worry, I didn't. I couldn't. I couldn't get her out of my mind.
Son, you worry me. Are you well?
Mother, when you saw Father for the first time, did you feel that unmistakable something? Did you feel an electric spark from your head right down to your toes that swept over you like a hurricane that threw you to the ground? But you bounced up again and you floated right over the treetops?
Spark, hurricane. Heaven forbid. I never had such a feeling. Henry, where do you get it from? Not from me. And certainly your father never had any spark.
Mother, all I'm trying to say is I met a girl yesterday.
Oh, I hope she comes from a good family.
I don't know. And frankly, I don't care. Mother, when one sees a lovely rose...
One could be certain she comes from a fine rose bush.
Mother, even if this girl's father turned out to be something of a buttercup, I wouldn't care.
What's her name? Where does she live?
I wish I knew.
She isn't one of those musical comedy girls.
Oh, no, Mother. It's an entirely different kind of music. It's not the hoochie-coochie. It's not the can-can. It's like a waltz by Strauss. Like a minuet by Mozart.
Henry, where do you get it from?
From you, Mother. Now you must be just. When I was a little boy, you wanted me to believe in fairy tales. And now that one has really happened, you remember that story about the young man, I think he was a shepherd, who was walking in the woods?
Oh, you've been in the country.
No, Mother. It happened right on Broadway. Suddenly, the young man saw a big castle, and leaning out of the window was the most beautiful princess. Nothing could stop him. He climbed up the parapet of the castle.
Henry, you haven't broken into the Waldorf again.
Mother, darling, let's forget the fairy tale.
Well, it's about time you grew up. I came here to scold you, and I'm going to do it. Now, look at your cousin Albert. Not much older than you are, and already a corporation lawyer, engaged to a lovely girl of a well-known family. Henry, now this may sound severe, but you've got to pull yourself together and settle down.
Mother, I don't think I'll ever find this girl, but if I did, then all your troubles would be over. If she didn't want me to gamble, I wouldn't look at another card. I'd stay home every night. Mother, I might even go to work.
Henry, that's wonderful. I don't know about the girl, but the fact that you have the desire to settle down makes me so happy. For the first time, you're beginning to sound like your father.
Mother, I don't know where this girl is, so don't expect too much.
Oh, now listen to your mother. Don't worry about that girl. Another girl will come along. I'll look for one myself. How's that?
Fine, Mother.
And when I find a girl for you, she'll be Miss Wright. And do you know where we'll find her? In the home of Mr. and Mrs. Wright. Oh, Henry, you're making me so happy.
Mother, I was riding around for hours and hours trying to forget this girl.
Oh, child, don't worry.
Well, it was very expensive. The cab is still waiting out in front. And the driver was so nice to me that I promised him...
I know. Your heart's always bigger than your father's pocketbook. Look under your pillow. I put something there last night.
Oh, Mother. Sometimes I wonder if you're not spoiling me.